Emily Johnson was always the life of the party. With her radiant smile and infectious laughter, she had a magnetic presence that drew people towards her. Despite her bubbly exterior, Emily harbored deep-seated insecurities, stemming from a tumultuous childhood and a series of failed relationships. She longed for a love that would sweep her off her feet and make her feel secure, a desire that often bordered on desperation. Alex Miller, on the other hand, was the epitome of stability. A software engineer by profession, he was known for his gentle demeanor and unwavering reliability. Friends and family often described him as the kind of person who would drop everything to help someone in need. Alex had a close-knit group of friends and a loving family, forming a strong support system around him. His past relationships had been relatively steady, albeit lacking the intense passion that some seek. Their paths crossed one fateful evening at a mutual friend's party. Alex, initially reluctant to attend, was persuaded by his friends who insisted he needed a break from his rigorous work schedule. The party was in full swing when Alex arrived, and he found himself gravitating towards the quieter corners of the room, away from the pulsating music and the throngs of people. It was in one of these quieter moments that Emily spotted him. Intrigued by his calm and composed presence, she decided to introduce herself. Their first conversation was filled with the usual pleasantries, but there was an undeniable spark. Emily's vivaciousness contrasted sharply with Alex's calm, yet they seemed to complement each other perfectly. They talked for hours, sharing stories about their lives, dreams, and aspirations. Emily was captivated by Alex's stability and kindness, qualities she found deeply reassuring. Alex, in turn, was drawn to Emily's zest for life and her ability to find joy in the simplest of things. As the evening wore on, they exchanged numbers, and Alex found himself eagerly awaiting her messages. Their first date followed soon after, a casual dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant. Emily's charm was in full display, and Alex found himself falling for her more with each passing moment. They quickly became inseparable, spending most of their free time together. Weekend getaways, movie nights, and spontaneous road trips filled their days, painting a picture of a perfect romance. Friends and family noticed the change in Alex. He seemed happier, more animated, and was often seen with a broad smile on his face. Emily, too, appeared to be glowing with happiness. She frequently shared pictures of their adventures on social media, accompanied by captions expressing her love and admiration for Alex. To the outside world, they were the embodiment of a perfect couple, two halves that had finally found each other. However, beneath this picture-perfect romance, subtle cracks began to appear. Emily's insecurities, initially masked by her exuberance, started to seep through. She became increasingly anxious about Alex's interactions with other women, even those he had known for years. What began as casual questions about his day and his interactions soon turned into incessant probing. "Who were you with? Why didn't you answer my call immediately? Who was that girl commenting on your photo?" Alex at first dismissed these concerns as harmless jealousy, a sign that Emily cared deeply for him. He made efforts to reassure her, often going out of his way to avoid situations that might trigger her insecurities. He limited his interactions with female colleagues and cut back on social outings that didn't include her. Emily, for her part, was effusive in her gratitude, showering him with affection and praise. Despite these efforts, Emily's need for control grew. She began insisting on knowing his every move, under the guise of wanting to feel closer to him. She would show up unannounced at his workplace with lunch, claiming she just wanted to surprise him. While Alex's co-workers found it endearing, Alex began to feel a sense of unease. He noticed the subtle ways in which Emily's presence was becoming more of a demand than a delight. Their relationship took another turn when Emily suggested they move in together. Alex, though hesitant, agreed, hoping that sharing a home would provide the reassurance Emily needed. Initially, it seemed like the right decision. They decorated their apartment together, creating a space that was uniquely theirs. Yet living together also meant there was no escape from Emily's growing demands for his attention and time. Emily's need to control extended to every aspect of their lives. She began managing his schedule, deciding when and where they would go, often disregarding Alex's preferences or commitments. If Alex expressed a desire to spend time with his friends, Emily would sulk or feign illness, manipulating him into staying home with her. On the rare occasions when Alex insisted on going out without her, Emily would bombard him with messages and calls, demanding constant updates on his whereabouts. Alex's friends began to notice his increasing absence and the change in his demeanor when he did manage to meet them. He was no longer the carefree and easygoing friend they once knew. Instead, he seemed perpetually anxious, always checking his phone and constantly trying to placate Emily. Conversations that once flowed easily were now strained, as Alex carefully chose his words to avoid triggering any potential backlash from Emily later. Despite these growing tensions, Alex remained committed to making the relationship work. He rationalized Emily's behavior, attributing it to her past experiences and her deep-seated fears of abandonment. He believed that with enough love and patience, he could help her overcome these issues. Emily, meanwhile, continued to oscillate between extreme affection and bouts of irrational jealousy. Their relationship, which had started as a beacon of hope for both, was slowly turning into a cage for Alex. The emotional toll began to manifest in physical symptoms. He experienced frequent headaches, sleepless nights, and a constant state of nervousness. Friends and family urged him to reconsider the relationship, but Alex felt a deep sense of responsibility towards Emily. He was determined to be the anchor she needed, even as he felt himself sinking. As time passed, the weight of Emily's control became increasingly unbearable. What was once a vibrant and loving connection had transformed into a dark and suffocating bond. Emily's obsession with controlling Alex's life was no longer just a quirk. It was a dangerous path that neither of them fully understood, but one that was inching closer to a tragic end. The beginning of their story, filled with promise and love, had set the stage for a relationship that would ultimately spiral out of control, leading to consequences neither could have foreseen. As the dark undercurrents of their love story began to surface, it became clear that the journey ahead would be fraught with peril, with Emily's obsessive nature leading them both towards an inevitable and tragic conclusion. As the initial euphoria of their romance began to settle, subtle red flags started to appear, hinting at a darker undercurrent in Emily's behavior. Alex, always considerate and trusting, often brushed aside these early signs, attributing them to Emily's past experiences and her intense love for him. However, friends and close observers began to notice patterns that painted a more troubling picture. Emily's desire to know Alex's every move intensified. What began as casual curiosity evolved into a relentless need for constant updates. She insisted on daily check-ins, and not just once or twice, but multiple times throughout the day. If Alex was at work, she expected text messages during his breaks, detailing his interactions and tasks. If he was out with friends, she would call him frequently, her tone sweet yet insistent, masking a deeper need to control. At first, Alex saw these actions as a manifestation of Emily's affection. He believed she was just deeply invested in their relationship. However, the frequency and intensity of her demands began to wear on him. He found himself constantly on edge, worrying about how she might react if he didn't respond promptly, or if he failed to provide enough detail about his day. His once carefree demeanor was slowly being replaced by a sense of unease and anxiety. Alex's friends, who had initially welcomed Emily into their circle, started to notice changes in him. During gatherings, Alex was often distracted, his phone perpetually in his hand, replying to Emily's incessant messages. Conversations that used to be filled with laughter and camaraderie became punctuated by Alex's hurried exits to take Emily's calls. Friends began to express their concern, gently probing Alex about his relationship. He would defend Emily, citing her past trauma and her need for reassurance. He assured them that everything was fine, even as the strain in his voice betrayed his growing discomfort. Emily's behavior extended beyond the digital realm. She would show up unannounced at Alex's workplace, bringing lunch or coffee under the guise of being a caring girlfriend. While his colleagues initially found it endearing, it soon became apparent that these visits were more about checking up on Alex than surprising him with a treat. Emily's demeanor during these visits was always pleasant, but Alex sensed the underlying tension. If he seemed too friendly with a female colleague or if his interactions weren't to her satisfaction, he would later face a barrage of questions and accusations at home. The weekends, once a time for relaxation and fun, became battlegrounds for control. Emily meticulously planned their activities, often disregarding Alex's preferences or commitments. If Alex expressed a desire to visit his family or hang out with his friends, Emily would either tag along, ensuring she was always present, or she would create a situation that made it difficult for him to leave her side. She would feign illness, claim she was feeling lonely, or simply break down in tears, manipulating Alex into abandoning his plans. Despite these controlling tendencies, Emily was adept at maintaining a facade of normalcy. In public, she was the doting girlfriend, always attentive and affectionate. She would praise Alex in front of others, speaking of him in glowing terms, creating an illusion of a perfect relationship. This public display of affection made it difficult for Alex to voice his growing concerns, as outsiders only saw the loving side of Emily. Alex's work performance began to suffer. The constant need to respond to Emily's demands left him distracted and exhausted. He found it increasingly difficult to focus on his tasks, and his productivity plummeted. His manager, noticing the decline, called him in for a meeting, expressing concern about his well-being. Alex, unable to confide in anyone about the true nature of his stress, attributed it to personal issues he was working through. His manager offered support and encouraged him to take time off if needed. But Alex felt trapped, knowing that any time away from work would only mean more time under Emily's scrutiny. The turning point came during a weekend getaway they had planned to a nearby cabin. Alex hoped that the change of scenery and the promise of a peaceful retreat would help ease the growing tension between them. However, the trip quickly turned into a nightmare. From the moment they arrived, Emily's controlling behavior escalated. She monitored his every move, questioned his every action, and grew increasingly agitated if he deviated even slightly from her plans. One evening, after a particularly tense day, Alex suggested they go for a walk to clear the air. Emily reluctantly agreed, but as they walked through the quiet woods, her questioning resumed. She accused him of being distant, of not loving her enough, and of hiding things from her. Alex, feeling cornered, tried to reassure her, but his words only seemed to fuel her paranoia. The argument that ensued was their most intense yet, with Emily breaking down in tears, accusing Alex of planning to leave her. Back at the cabin, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Alex felt trapped, both physically and emotionally. He realized that Emily's behavior was not just a phase, but a deep-seated issue that was consuming both of them. That night, as he lay in bed, he felt a profound sense of despair. He loved Emily, but her obsessive need for control was suffocating him. He knew he needed to find a way to address the situation, but he felt powerless, fearing her reaction if he tried to distance himself. The days following the trip were marked by a strained silence between them. Emily sensed the shift in Alex's demeanor and grew even more clingy and paranoid. She would go through his phone, checking his messages and call logs, always looking for signs of betrayal. If Alex protested, she would accuse him of hiding something, further deepening the rift between them. Despite the growing turmoil, Alex remained committed to finding a solution. He sought advice from friends and discreetly looked up information about dealing with obsessive and controlling behavior in relationships. He contemplated suggesting couples therapy, hoping that a professional might help them navigate their issues. However, the thought of broaching the subject with Emily filled him with dread. He knew her well enough to predict that she would perceive it as a personal attack, further escalating her insecurities. Emily's behavior continued to escalate, manifesting in more overt forms of control. She began to monitor Alex's finances, questioning his spending, and demanding to know why he needed to purchase certain items. She insisted on accompanying him to every social event, making it clear that she needed to be involved in all aspects of his life. Alex's once vibrant social circle began to dwindle, as friends grew tired of the constant drama and tension that Emily's presence brought. The isolation tactics were not limited to Alex's friends. Emily also targeted his family, subtly undermining his relationships with them. She would create conflicts and misunderstandings, positioning herself as the only person who truly cared for Alex. If Alex planned a visit to his family, Emily would find ways to disrupt it, either by feigning illness or creating a crisis that required his immediate attention. Alex's family, noticing the strain, tried to reach out to him. His mother, particularly concerned, attempted to have heart-to-heart conversations with him, urging him to reconsider his relationship. She expressed her worries about Emily's controlling behavior and its impact on his well-being. Alex, torn between his love for Emily and his loyalty to his family, found himself in an impossible situation. He downplayed the severity of the issues, reassuring his mother that things would get better, even as he felt increasingly trapped. As the months wore on, the weight of Emily's control became more oppressive. Alex's mental and physical health began to deteriorate. He experienced frequent headaches, insomnia, and a constant sense of dread. He felt isolated and powerless, unable to see a way out of the toxic cycle. Emily's presence, once a source of joy, had become a shadow that darkened every aspect of his life. Despite the mounting evidence of the relationship's toxicity, Alex remained hopeful that things could change. He believed that with enough love and patience, he could help Emily overcome her insecurities and build a healthier relationship. However, the reality was that Emily's need for control was deeply ingrained, a manifestation of unresolved issues that neither love nor patience could easily fix. The subtle red flags that had initially hinted at trouble had now grown into glaring warning signs. Emily's obsession with control was consuming both of them, leading them down a path of destruction. The once perfect romance had devolved into a psychological battleground, with Alex caught in the crossfire of Emily's relentless need for control and his own desire to make things work. As the situation continued to deteriorate, it became clear that the relationship was heading towards an inevitable and tragic conclusion. As the pressure of Emily's control reached unbearable levels, Alex found himself at a breaking point. The once joyful relationship had become a prison, with Emily's obsessive need for control overshadowing every aspect of his life. Alex's sense of isolation deepened, and he felt increasingly disconnected from the person he used to be. The final straw came on a Friday evening when Alex decided to meet his old college friends for a casual get-together. He had not seen them in months due to Emily's constant interference. Determined to reclaim a semblance of his former life, he informed Emily of his plans, bracing himself for her reaction. As expected, Emily was furious. She accused him of prioritizing his friends over her, of hiding things from her, and of planning to meet other women. Alex, exhausted from the constant accusations, tried to reassure her, but his words fell on deaf ears. When he left for the meetup, his phone buzzed incessantly with Emily's messages, each one more frantic and accusing than the last. She called him multiple times, demanding to know who he was with, what they were doing, and why he wasn't responding immediately. His friends noticed his distracted state and pressed him for answers. Feeling overwhelmed, Alex finally confided in them about the extent of Emily's controlling behavior. His friends listened with a mix of shock and concern, urging him to consider ending the relationship for his own well-being. They shared stories of others who had been in similar situations and offered their support, assuring Alex that he didn't have to face this alone. For the first time in months, Alex felt a glimmer of hope, realizing that he had a support system that could help him break free from Emily's grip. Returning home that night, Alex steeled himself for the confrontation he knew awaited him. Emily was waiting, her face a mask of anger and hurt. She accused him of abandoning her, of betraying her trust, and of not loving her enough. Alex, mustering all his courage, tried to calmly explain his need for space and independence. He suggested seeking professional help to address their issues, proposing couples therapy as a way to heal their fractured relationship. Emily's reaction was explosive. She rejected the idea of therapy, insisting that the problem was Alex's lack of commitment and his failure to understand her needs. The argument escalated, with Emily throwing accusations and ultimatums. In the heat of the moment, Alex realized that Emily's obsession with control was beyond his ability to manage or fix. He made the painful decision to end the relationship, hoping that it would be the wake-up call Emily needed to seek help. Emily, devastated and enraged, begged Alex not to leave her. She promised to change, to be better, to give him the space he needed. But Alex, firm in his resolve, knew that their relationship had become toxic beyond repair. He packed a few essential belongings and left the apartment, seeking refuge at a friend's place. He felt a mix of relief and sorrow, mourning the loss of the woman he had once loved and the relationship that had promised so much happiness. The days that followed were a blur of emotional turmoil for both Alex and Emily. Alex struggled with his decision, haunted by memories of their happier times. He reached out to a therapist, hoping to gain clarity and heal from the emotional scars. Emily, on the other hand, sank deeper into her obsession. She bombarded Alex with messages and calls, swinging between desperate pleas for reconciliation and venomous attacks. Despite the emotional roller coaster, Alex stood his ground, maintaining minimal contact with Emily. He focused on rebuilding his life, reconnecting with friends and family, and finding solace in activities that brought him joy. His therapist helped him understand the dynamics of abusive relationships and the importance of setting boundaries. Slowly, Alex began to regain his sense of self and independence. Emily's behavior, however, grew increasingly erratic. She showed up at Alex's workplace, causing scenes that embarrassed him in front of his colleagues. She stalked his social media profiles, leaving desperate and sometimes hostile messages. Her obsession with Alex consumed her, leaving her unable to function normally. Friends and family, witnessing her downward spiral, urged her to seek professional help, but Emily resisted, convinced that Alex was the only solution to her pain. One evening, as Alex was returning home from a late-night workout, he noticed a figure lurking near his apartment building. His heart sank when he recognized Emily. She approached him, her eyes wild with a mix of desperation and determination. She pleaded with him to take her back, insisting that she couldn't live without him. Alex, feeling a mix of fear and compassion, tried to remain calm. He reiterated that their relationship was over and that she needed to seek help. Emily's demeanor shifted from pleading to threatening in an instant. She accused Alex of ruining her life, of leading her on, and of abandoning her when she needed him the most. Alex, sensing the potential for violence, tried to walk away, but Emily blocked his path. The situation escalated rapidly, and in a fit of rage, Emily pulled out a small knife she had concealed in her jacket. She lunged at Alex, shouting that if she couldn't have him, no one else would. Alex, caught off guard, struggled to fend her off. In the chaos, he was able to wrestle the knife from her hand, but not before sustaining a deep gash on his arm. Neighbors, hearing the commotion, called the police. By the time they arrived, Alex was bleeding and in shock, and Emily was on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. The police apprehended Emily and took her into custody, while paramedics attended to Alex's injuries. The incident marked a turning point for both Alex and Emily. Emily was charged with assault and underwent a psychological evaluation, which revealed deep-seated issues that required intensive therapy. She was admitted to a mental health facility, where she began the long process of healing and understanding the root causes of her behavior. Alex, while physically recovering from his injuries, faced an emotional journey of healing. He continued his therapy, focusing on understanding the dynamics of abusive relationships and learning how to establish healthy boundaries. The support of his friends and family proved invaluable, helping him navigate the complex emotions of guilt, anger, and sorrow. The legal proceedings against Emily were a difficult and painful process for Alex. He had to recount the harrowing details of their relationship and the events leading up to the attack. Throughout the trial, Alex remained resolute, determined to see justice served while also hoping that Emily would get the help she desperately needed. The court, recognizing the severity of Emily's actions and her mental health issues, sentenced her to a period of incarceration, followed by mandatory psychological treatment. In the aftermath of the trial, Alex began to rebuild his life with a renewed sense of purpose. He channeled his experiences into advocacy, working with organizations that supported victims of domestic abuse and promoting awareness about the dangers of obsessive and controlling relationships. Through sharing his story, Alex hoped to help others recognize the signs of abuse and seek help before it was too late. Emily's journey towards recovery was long and arduous. In therapy, she confronted the traumas of her past and began to understand the destructive patterns of her behavior. With the support of mental health professionals, she started to rebuild her life, focusing on self-awareness and healthier coping mechanisms. While the road to recovery was not easy, Emily's willingness to face her issues marked a significant step towards healing. As the years passed, both Alex and Emily found new paths. Alex, having learned from his past, entered into a healthy and supportive relationship where mutual respect and understanding were the foundations. He continued his advocacy work, dedicating his time to helping others break free from the cycle of abuse. Emily, too, made progress in her recovery, building a life where she could manage her insecurities and foster healthier relationships. The story of Alex and Emily, though tragic, served as a powerful reminder of the importance of recognizing and addressing the signs of abusive relationships. It highlighted the need for support systems, professional help, and the courage to break free from toxic dynamics. Their journey, filled with pain and redemption, underscored the resilience of the human spirit and the possibility of healing, even in the face of profound adversity. In the end, the lessons learned from their experience became a beacon of hope for many, illustrating that while the path to recovery is challenging, it is possible to emerge stronger and wiser. Alex and Emily's story, once marked by control and obsession, transformed into a tale of survival, growth, and the enduring power of human resilience.